people, and welcome back to part 58 of Ilos and modded Cities Skylines build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And thanks so much for all the support last week. Again, a ton of fun was had building our Celeste space command, and a big shout out as well to Celeste again for the idea. It really came together. Super happy with this facility, and definitely some of the more harder assets to use in the game. But I think we pulled it off, right? Definitely not bad for a first attempt with mods, I don't think. I think I'm pretty happy with it. But today's episode, everyone, is likely to be, if not the final build in Ilos. The series is coming to a close now. And we're heading all the way back to downtown, actually, because there's one final bit of leftover initial mile grid frame that has not been filled out or detailed or had anything done with it. And that is indeed all the way over in the west side. So we got a big space here today, some RTO frames to extend, and then also some space to blend into with Imperator's rural farm area out here as well from his build, of course. And then some highway connections to re-establish, and we are going to be taking inspiration from a Phoenix build for this area today. So we'll talk about what's happening, and then we'll get started. So this is the Peoria City Hall Attorney's Office, and there's also other sort of services around here, like an animal control, City of Engineering, there's a library down here too, an amphitheatre behind the main building, little park space and lots of car parking, and it's basically just another Margrid project, right? There's, honestly, like, even if you're not taking inspiration from Phoenix for the entire build, just coming into the Margrid and finding something unique to play with, even this thing over here, right? Like, look at this. You've got a whole campus here just ready to go. It's such an interesting city. I really can't sort of implore you all enough to go and explore Phoenix. It's been a tremendously fun experience for me. But this is what we're looking at today. And the red roofs are kind of screaming liberal arts to me. So essentially the game is going to read this build as a university campus, but there's some fun things that we can take inspiration from, including, of course, our car parking, little bits of park designs around. Even some of these car parks here look like the new ones from mid-century modern, don't they? So we could definitely get involved with some of these, and plenty of road inspiration and detail to be taken. And then, of course, some surrounding suburbia designs should we decide we need them. There's always lots of nice ideas to be had in Phoenix with this sort of stuff, of course. And let's see what we can do with the Ilos Attorney's Office, shall we? Okay, so let's start out by grabbing some of our networks here, because we've got some work to do with them. So let's bring it downhill, and actually I kind of want to meander off this way first, and with this bridge, we actually want this to become a highway now. We did originally set this as one of the content creator bridges, but I think it's quite stark out here. It's quite a historical bridge, doesn't really make vast amounts of sense for it to be this way, but we'll upgrade to highway, I think, at least for the time being, at least. Okay, and then down here, and we'll configure the connection in a second, but what I really want now is to line up this big road here that's going to come down and eventually line up with this one as well. So let's hit a road guideline, and I reckon, yeah, that should give us enough room between the river and everything else. That should be okay. Cool. So it just needs some simple slip ramps up and down onto that. That's going to be no problem at all. And then we want to bring this up, and probably a little happy curve tool will go nicely there. And everyone should be happy and tremendous. And then we've got another road down here as well. This has been the huge benefit of playing with the Margrid frames, is that everything just connects into each other when you need it to. All ties together nicely. Although, having just remembered, we do actually need to be using the version of this road that has the holes in it, so we get the split in the median. Cool. Well, that's going to give us some nice network connections now. Bridge is looking a bit more sensible here now, isn't it, I think? Perhaps just wants a bit of leveling out with Move It, but we can do that as well. So let's start by configuring our entrance roads. We're going to use some one-way narrow roads for this. And we think we're going to draw these out the same node, and we could use an asymmetric road for this, but we'll just do it as a nice little design using node controller. So let's find out exactly where we want to set up our entrance. This looks like it's going to be a nice happy alignment. It's also going to line up here with the back of the stock exchange as well. In what is a very kind of institutional part of Western Ilos, isn't it? We've got the university here and stock exchanges, zoo. It's all very kind of big and blocky, so this build should blend in quite nicely as well. So let's just go out by, let's turn off all of our snap-ins as well. We'll want to eye this really, apart from road length. Let's go for 7 units either side, I think. We'll do the same thing over here again as well. go ahead and grab node controller, and then we'll grab the whole thing. We want to square everyone off, and then we want to sort of just start widening out everyone's offset, especially the main road offsets here as well. So we'll widen those out, and then we really want to start shifting the other colors. So we want to bring this one down to about there. Now we will get some tear in here. It's kind of natural with these wider nodes, but everything will come together. Okay. There we go. So that's pretty much what I'm after. So we're now playing with the same node, and we're going to have some really fun road designs in there as well. And then we can see now that we just have our very basic American roads. So let's just go ahead and grab our plane friends. This should be okay. Come back on with our snap-ins, and then we can do that. And then really now this feeds off into... Actually, no, I wonder if our service roads actually from parking lots might work better here. Let's have a little check. I think they do. I think I prefer just the regular black asphalt. I think we will go for those. But a really fun way of adding a little bit more importance into an entrance onto a facility rather than just having a road like that, you know? So 2 roads out of the same node control it all together, and it's a nice time for everyone involved, I think. So we've got 2 parking lots either side of this road here, but now I want to place our main building, really. So I think what we will do here is actually continue to let the one-way system flow, making sure we actually invert it as well when need be. So let's come back into our row length here as well. Now, I've got an idea in mind of how I want this little area to look. So I think we're going to start sticking to units of 5 as we start moving up here. So let's come back to 10. I guess we want to bring you out by 8 instead, right? Then let's come on to our guidelines. Hopefully get 2 there, and then that's going to maintain our 4 tiles in the middle, isn't it? Cool. So we can then use this little road network here as our sort of introductory plaza. Usually I would put it straight on here, but we're playing in some pretty awkward space, so we have to be creative as exactly what happens. But this is what I'm envisioning, okay? And also just sort of thinking about it, we can maybe even extend this one-way system to flow out into different areas and then do some cute little move it nuances here to extend the network out. That might be quite fun. I guess we can have a little play with that. Yeah, I think that's going to lead into some quite intricate road network designs, isn't it? Especially when we start service painting and doing little gardens here. That's going to be really fun. Should be quite a fun detail in time-lapse today. And what a wonderful view we have to enjoy, right, as we sort of construct the last major building in Ilos. what a treat to look at Ilos' downtown from here. How fun. Cool, but now we have our entrance roads configured. What I would like to do is now come into sub-buildings and search for parks, and we're going to grab a little bit of the central park asset. We're going to place this down about here. It is going to centralize for us. We of course do need to bob this because it is covered in crap vanilla trees. Let's get rid of those. There we go. Goodbye, Bob. Possibly Bob's final appearance in Ilos, actually. What a moment. So now we've got this. I want to drag my road around the edge of it, which of course is going to give it its border. So let's go for one more up this side, and then we'll come back down. Okay, now what I want to do is, we'll worry about orientating the roads in a second, is to spin this around so we have the stairs facing the other way, and we can position that in now without it losing its connection because it's wrapped by roads. And then I'd like to place in the main building of the Liberal Arts Administration unit, which will give us this fun, tremendous little sunken plaza directly outside of our main building, which is a very unique aesthetic, isn't it? And a great pairing of the assets. I've always wanted to use this. I've been trying to find a way to get this into the city, basically since we found out that sub-buildings were a thing when Find It got that update. But I think it works, right? It's going to be a nice sort of grandiose entrance into our town here, once we get that surrounded with palm trees as well, of course. Everyone's going to be tremendously happy. We could even upgrade those on the side to roads with trees, and maybe even try perhaps a touch of California palm if everyone's happy with that. Let's bring our brush size down too. Although I've turned off that option in Bob, haven't I? I will show this on camera in case anyone doesn't know. So Bob has an option under its general options to disable vanilla tree tool network replacement. If you untick that, you are then able to attempt to re-upgrade your trees again. It can be helpful to have it turned off occasionally. Okay, I'm on board with that. That's pretty fun, right? Again, happy with the orientation. I would rather have it centralized, but if we can respect the one-way system as it curves around and then comes back into this one, we can definitely get on board with that, okay? Cool, so I'm really happy with that, right? It's going to be a nice little block of sort of importance to sit within the facility here. And we've also got some really nice ideas to play with a parallel train line coming through this area as well. It's going to be a very unique little area of Ilos this once it all comes together. But I'm pretty happy with it. There's one thing we are actually seeing in the inspiration that we're taking from Phoenix is that there is actually quite a lot of grass through this space, which is going to actually lend itself quite well to blending in with the stock exchange plazas that we built ages ago, because this is all quite green up here too. Sort of the more green, expensive parts of Ilos to live, right? Cool, so we'll just give it a general spattering of grass. We do have some idiot surface painter going on here with just map inconsistencies. This hopefully will clear away. There you go, just needs a bit of help. So I'd now like to turn my attention back toward the road network again and just sort of see what's going to happen with this, because I think it's going to form a pretty significant spine throughout the whole complex. Now, there isn't roads everywhere throughout the one in Phoenix, but you know, it's not a direct recreation. We can certainly just take inspiration as to how everything sits in. And again, I think we'll run this down here together. We might do that same trick here again. It really depends what's going to happen with this road. And our last live stream will be taking place out here as well. We'll do some fun things together. On stream, of course. Cool, but that's going to be good for me. So let's start placing some other assets in now. So I'm pretty sure we're just going to be using all the liberal art stuff, because these are really cute assets and there's different angles and orientations we can bring them in on. So let's go ahead and bring in, which one's this? This is the study hall, isn't it? So that they're pretty sparsely spread across the area. I love the fact that they've got a view walking on this key here as well. That's really cool. I love that. They can sort of see down into the municipal complex for the city. That's going to be really fun. We're also going to name our, well, it's a campus, isn't it? But we're not pretending it's not a campus. We're going to go for the Katka Municipal Complex after our wonderful patron subscriber, Katka. Thank you so much for all your support. Really appreciate it. I hope this build lives up to your expectations today. So let's start bringing some car parking now. We've got a couple of different options available to us, of course, at this point in the game. So let's bring on some service road. And then we'll do a couple of little 5 blocks like that. And then is there a way we can maybe use the 16 meter here to like help configure it around? No, I guess the way we could do this then is to actually stick to 22 meter and then do a little block. How much was that one? That was 5, that was 5 as well. So if we did a full little 5 block and then used node controller to turn them all into bends and close them off, this should give us a fairly cute little square car park, which, oh, that's not what we want to do. Offset is the one we want. Yeah, that's going to be perfect for me for a little car parking configuration. And again, there's little introductions of surface painter that will make themselves known. Get some cute little palm gardens around these and cactuses and stuff. Let's build one of those together while we're here. So let's see, let's go ahead and start with our smaller bushes. Let's grab some smaller brown grass. I'm really going to miss the tree palette of Ilos once we move on to the tropical build. Yeah, the whole palms and dry desert vibes and cactus saguaros has been very fun to play with. Cool, yeah, some general bushes and whatnot. Touch of long grass as well, maybe. I think I'd be happy with that. And let's get some tall trees. I don't want anything too major. I really want the trees on the paths and the road to dominate the park. So I think a couple of live oak, California shorties with some grasses should do. Okay, and then we can get our car parking in there. I'm quite keen to just see some cars parking, so we'll throw that in as well. It's going to be pretty nightmarish to park up this one though. So I haven't decided exactly what we're going to separate the train line with here either. I'm probably thinking some sort of generic Arizona style fence, bit of chain link will go nicely, right? So I'm probably going to want to repeat that car parking design mirrored out the front of the other side. So we'll do that as well and just move that building over. So you were what, 3 units on the service road? And then it was a simple 5 box using our other units, wasn't it? Shame we just stumbled across this little car parking configuration now, because it's pretty cool to have the little square car parks like this and you can mirror them around many different assets. Would have been nice to just sort of frame some important builds maybe. Certainly at least. Let's not forget to change them to bends though. That's what makes it work. Cool. Yeah, I definitely think we want some building on here though, don't we? Just to help respect this sort of viewpoint here, even if it isn't going to be the main building. So let's see what we can do to help that as well. We need to also use move it here. Make sure everyone's happy with each other. There we go. So let's see what we've got available. We'll dive back into this sort of stuff. Go for cafeteria, maybe a little bit underwhelming. Oh, the library does fit perfectly against the train line, doesn't it? Again, it might be a little bit of a tight squeeze. You definitely want the fence running right along here, wouldn't you? But it is nice. It is nice, it has to be said. Can we get it in like here? Super cool with that metro going behind it as well. Really like that. You see the people too? Very cool. Yeah, I think we'll go with the library there then. Alright, that's going to be decent enough for me. So let's continue to start introducing more buildings into the build, of course. And I think I'm going to go with the Liberal Arts Auditorium, which is one of my favourite assets. It's got these sort of, don't know how you would describe it really, just bits of architecture, I suppose, is the word I'm going to use for it. These are really nice, okay? And if we start dragging this along, we can actually get this building to essentially be built into and around the metro bridge and pillars, which I think I'm happy with. That's going to be pretty cool, alright? However, I'm also going to copy and paste it and bring in another one on the opposite orientation to try and get them to sit so we can double up that architecture. Now, the facing of the building is this way. You can see it's whinging about its connection now. So we will need to provide it with a road connection, which is okay. I'm hoping that we can do this. We can actually move that rail pillar, can't we? So we don't need to respect that. There we go. So that is actually going to give it its pathway that it needs. So we can actually upgrade that into pedestrian street. That will just give us the concrete filler, I guess. That's probably going to be more appropriate, isn't it? Yeah, we'll go with that then. So we'll have the metro running along the roof now, right? Like it's built into it, sort of structurally. And then we can also fuse these areas together here as well. Where we do have a little bit of parking, which I don't hate, but I think I'd rather do my own. So we're going to bob that off. Let's go ahead and get rid of those parking spaces on both assets. Ooh, it's easily done. And then again, we will grab ourselves some parking lot road. So I was thinking about what parking solutions we're going to use in the next city. I think we'll stick with parking lot roads and also download a selection of ploppable assets as well. So let's go with that parking lot road, and I think I just want to do a little 3 curve here. So I'm sort of after a curved car park, you know. This is what we want to start playing with, different designs and whatnot. So the trick with these, if you're going to do a car park that isn't curved, it's the same process we did on a much bigger scale in the Rotundra car park around this asset over here. You just have to very individually carefully place your parking spaces. So this looks really cute. I'm happy with this fusing. Gives us that much larger, sort of important looking complex, doesn't it? Which is nice. And we should be on the Margrid divide here, which means that Surface Painter should play fair with us, which is going to be great because we can now just start to develop lots of personalized little concrete space knocking around the map. So we achieve something like that, and I think, you know, a little bit of hedging actually might go quite a long way here. Let's come out of sub-buildings, and then we've got a couple of options too. We could go for a sort of a short, low-profile hedge, but I think the sort of fenceable hedge is going to be the best option here, isn't it? So let's go for that one, and then make sure we actually select it though. That would be helpful. So I'm thinking something like this. We can of course extend the patterns out in whichever shapes and sizes we want. Maybe link a little pathway through here that comes under the bridge, and then into the next building along. But we can definitely get a sense of what the final facility is going to feel like here today, right? Lots of these larger, more important buildings and lots of open green space with parking around them now, which is getting used, which is cool. Cool. So it's slowly piecing together everything, isn't it? Again, there's not vast amounts of offices or buildings in the one in Phoenix. It's very much just sort of scattered around. I don't think I want the bookstore here because it says bookstore on it, doesn't it? Yeah, it's too much of a clash to me. We can't have that on here, I don't think. The laboratories are a big number though, aren't they? They are pretty big and quite important looking. So I think what we will do is actually extend our campus district into the next square over the side of the bridge here. Oh yes, our Mulligan Gardens too. Of course, the episode. People wouldn't have seen this, that we do actually have a guest appearance from City Planner Plays, who has visited Ilos, of course, in his attempt to get the city to start using water pipes. And I can't remember the reason why he stood in front of a burning barrel, but there probably probably was some sort of reason for it. And of course, we named it after our wonderful city planner. So thank you for all supporting the live streams. It was nice to put Mulligan Gardens together with you guys. Right, as stupid as it is, it's still fun. Cool. So laboratories. Let's have a look at this number because again, pretty important, pretty beefy, very nice asset. And again, let's just see how long until you whinge and lose your connection. To about there. Okay, I don't think I hate that then. Let's again align this up with our main infrastructure around the build, which in this case is the bridge. I'm going to be happy with that. Now let's have a little experiment and play with what we were just talking about with that Service Painter idea. So we use a little bit of Service Painter just to sketch out that path. Now we will actually need to bring in vanilla walking pathways, of course, to make these functional. Otherwise, it's just Service Painter. But we can do that. That's no problem at all. Let's do that actually now whilst we remember, because I will forget to do that. So let's just bring it up into here. Don't really want road length on for that. Go for that one. And then we'll bring it under, and I guess just hook it into this road here. Let's turn off the angle. Make all this walkable space. Again, I've said this before, but that's been like one of my favourite things about playing modded cities for the first time is configuring sort of realistic, walkable, open concrete plazas, which is basically impossible to do in vanilla. It's made me very happy. So we'll grab our hedge again, sit this on the fence fill, and then hopefully we can just scroll on through without any issues. Let's bring our spacing down a touch. There we go. Bring that up to the back of the car park hedge. And then this can hopefully come down here and run up to there or something. Should be okay. We can see where the Service Painter just needs to be tidied up around the pathway. Apart from that, that should give us kind of what I'm after. I think we can maybe construct a little palm garden around there or something, but that should just start to interlink our facilities now, make it seem a little bit more believable as to what we're seeing in Phoenix. You know, you can walk maybe from the attorney's office, which are based in the auditorium buildings here, over to perhaps animal control that lives in this part of the city as well. Okay. But it's fun. It's nice. It's always fun repurposing campus into something else other than a campus. You end up with these very large, important looking modular sections of city. They're really fun to play with. Got our highway connections going through here as well. I don't think we're going to make this highway kind of omnidirectional. You're only going to be able to enter and exit off certain sides of this. I think we'll put in an exit into Sky Harbour. But then you won't, if you're driving from the airport, you have to go into the city. You're not allowed to come off here. So we'll do some things with ramps come this at some point in the episode today as well. So there is one thing that we are seeing in Phoenix, and this is the introduction of kind of a park area. And that's what I want to work on next. So let's come on to angle and guideline here. And what I'd like to do is get a little bit of freeform work on the go, because I'm trying to create a more circular shape here. And then let's bring it up so we're flush with that guideline. And then we'll just allow those curves to hopefully repeat as it meanders back up into its existing road network. Curve tool is probably going to be the better solution there. So let's do that one. Okay, yeah, so I'm just looking for that sort of dip in the road. It's not massively centralized though, is it? And then there's a lot of tree linings here, so I'm guessing we can just start to replicate this. Let's start bringing down some pathway with trees, because this will be much easier to add the trees in that we want. And essentially just want this to run with the road. Of course, make it all walkable. And then let's see, where do we want to come down here? Let's come down from this space here. Again, just there is a lot of different sort of shaped parks and inspirations to take in Phoenix. If you're looking for such inspirations, there's kind of few better cities to look at really, at least in my experience with what we've been seeing in Phoenix. So I'm happy with that, and I do like the aesthetic of the pathway running with the road. That gives me, but then again, this is our central mall bit, isn't it? I don't think I want that there. Again, we could bring that into the middle if we wanted to. We could just move it to align nodes and whatnot, but it's unnecessary for right now, I think. Let's grab a small tree. I think I might go for some of these little road trees here. They are quite nice, these ones. Just simplistic. Okay, and then there's lots of detailing we can do here. We can drop in statues, definitely from plazas would be a good shout here. Let's see what's available. Have something a bit more modern like this one here. And then once we've got cars flowing through our facility, it should look pretty cool. Sort of cars flanking around it while one edge of it stays straight and the other one bends around a little park area here. And of course we can do gazebos and little other bits of branching pathway that come out from wherever we need to be. And then you 100% need to be changed into a bend. There we go. Cool, so that will start to give us that open green space vibe that we see in Phoenix, and I think I'm going to be happy with that, for the most part anyway. So some of the last things we're seeing in Phoenix is the introduction of multi-story car parking, which I'm hoping can be fused onto our auditorium here. We might lose a few windows, so I don't think I'm massively averse to that. There's a dance club here as well, which might serve as a smaller, more orbital little building we can use. Again, it's got a dance club written on the front of it. That kind of kills the vibe for me. I don't want it to be a dance club, but you can't avoid it if it says dance club on the front. Gymnasium's also a pretty big boy, but it's the buildings with the red roofs that I'm after here. I don't just want liberal arts assets, it's the red roof that I need. Again, we've got our dorms, which are plastered in vanilla trees, so we're going to need to get rid of them. Ilos certainly is not going to struggle for its university demand. There's a lot of university buildings in this city. Don't think I'm against the idea of a little dorm fusing if I want to create a longer asset there as well. Yeah, it just really widens that out, doesn't it? Would it be too cheeky to go for a third dome? Am I pushing my luck here? I'm very much enjoying the aesthetic of, oh, just got an achievement, student housing project. I kind of love that. That's really nice. There's one thing missing in cities, it's the addition of long, more organic looking buildings, isn't it? And I think 3 dorms fused together from liberal arts gives us a very cool aesthetic indeed, doesn't it? So I think we'll keep that in, I'm happy with that. So I think the last thing I want to have a look at here before we move into a major detailing time-lapse is just going to be adding in some of these highway slip ramps that we want for this road. So I'd like this to be quite a significant system, I suppose. So we're going to bring in some ramps here. And then let's just go for there for right now. And then we'll take a sample of this road. Let's go for something like that. And then can we just use network multi-tool to say create curve if we go from here? Yes, that's not the worst thing in the world. We're going to want to hit pause while we do this because that's actually going to change it into land, which will massively destroy our river. So we don't want that to happen. Let's go ahead and upgrade that into force elevation using the road tools. And you also want to change your direction here as well. Cool, so that should give us the slip into the highway network here, which will be great. We'll configure that with node control and whatnot, but it gives us that way across the river, doesn't it? I don't think I'm massively happy about the river being, or the bridge being so low down toward the water, so we'll grab the nodes with move it, and then we want to come up a little bit. I'm not so bothered about it being the same height as the bridge next to it, but at least a touch of elevation. Then again, probably network multi-slope now from here, say, to there. That is not multi-slope, that's parallel tool. Let's do that again. There we go, something like that. Or maybe even down to that one, just so it all evens out a bit. Okay, yeah, and then they can switch off and hit the highway from here as well. This is going to want node controlling and moving about and whatnot, and IMT and come the end, which we can do. Cool, and then again, might just want to bring this one a touch closer to Earth, and we can soften this out now. And probably network multi-slope will be needed again from here down to there, hopefully. There we go, it takes a little bit of the sting out of that terrain, doesn't it? And then a little bit of soften here should go a long way, I hope. Just easing that in, we get lots of rocks around here too. I'm going to keep this river shoreline quite natural and overgrown down this end of Ilos. We've done the kind of luxurious tourism tram waterfronts down this end, so I want to keep it a little bit more natural down this way. Cool, so we got one exit there, and then again it's kind of it's tough to decide in exactly where I want these ramps to go. I think I'm happy for one to come off and into this road. I guess it's going to be the same thing here, isn't it? So if we were to check that point there, we can see it's 10 units. So if we do that again, and then just use network multi-curve, is everyone going to be happy? I think they are. Again, we want to make sure we upgrade that into elevation though, otherwise the river will lose its mind. Okay, and that gives me the ramp I think that I want now. We're just slightly above the water. And maybe want to match the heights of over there, and maybe change this road here into a 2-lane forced to ground, I think, just for a touch of lane maths. Not that this is going to be tremendously busy, but there we go, someone is using the ramps back onto that highway. So we should see accessibility from Sky Harbour spike here a little bit, even though I'm pretty sure that everyone that arrives via the Sky Harbour airport isn't even driving out anyway. Pretty much all of them get on the metro and monorail connections that leave the airport. It gets very, very little car traffic at the Sky Harbour, as you can see as you just sort of look around. It's really not that busy at all. Which is fine, right? We want people using public transport. That's not a bad thing. But otherwise, guys, this does feel like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. I want to bring a lot of rocks and overgrowth along the river shore here to complete it. And then we're just going to keep referencing Google Earth to get park designs in here, little bits of prop detailing, benches and general recreation, etc. Maybe a touch more car parking and a bit more multi-story action over here as well, I think. Lots of surface painted gardens that we're planning in here, and do something impressive with this kind of central mall design. And also make sure that our one-way system is properly configured as well. Alongside a fence for our train line. And generally just help blend it in to the area, and then come our live stream, we'll definitely spend some final time together in Ilos working on this little outer line bit of map that we have between Imperator's build and the edge of downtown. But it's already looking pretty cool, that isn't that facility. I love that the metros are now hidden behind the buildings from this perspective. It's sort of respected that crawling height as well, hasn't it? You know, we're sort of with a medium density facility here, and then all the high density sits behind that. So it's another nice viewpoint really for the downtown. There's several that have developed across different areas now. It's really come into its own from pretty much whatever angle you look at it. There's another view with the university here as well. It's just so much fun. What a tremendous amount of fun this city has been to build, everyone. I'm going to miss it a lot, really quite a lot. But it's not over yet. Let's go ahead and detail up the municipal complex, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, let's have a detailing review, shall we? So, in and around our green spaces, lots of trees and also node control to the other entrance into the Municipal Park. And before we do have a little look around, let's have a look at some names we've given to our patrons. So we're going to have the Spartan Immigration Services, of course. And then we're going to have the Viscosity Science Labs next door to the Arutha Attorney's Office, which is of course just across the street from Besby's Library. But we also have the Sarah Ducky Municipal Court, alongside the Anthony Animal Control, and finally the Ross Hicks Engineering Building. So thank you for all the patrons. I hope you appreciate having various different services in Ilos' Municipal Park named after you. But either way, let's get on with the review. And behind the dormitory, the rail line has now received a little bit of overgrowth palette with some favourite industrial fencing, which was really nice when we get trains up and down here. And it's a nice blend, you know, because we've gone from sort of height with a key down to rail, then concrete space and building, and then into another build. It's become quite a seamless transition. I think I'm relatively happy with what's going on. Lots of wild hedge and tree patterns in our open spaces before we arrive at some hedge and prop detailing next to the Viscosity Science Labs, and also included a couple of golf caddies around the campus too. We'll see a few more of these as we go on. And I wanted them to just be like little on-site hire caddies that you can maybe use to get from one building to the next, and I think it's pretty cool. Also some bike racks out here with some electric car parking over this side as well, despite the fact that electric cars are not parked here, but that's okay. And I love the layers as well. Big shout out to the metro and highway bridges that are flowing through this park. Super happy with it, really cool. As the planes dive bomb into Sky Harbor, that's fine. A little fence here, and then lots of this sort of super cohesive, open, walkable concrete space now with more parking in and around the buildings before we arrive at this little open green space, which does such a good job of highlighting this wonderful little space here. And I am absolutely in love with the view up to the Stock Exchange Plaza, which is obviously has the main skyline behind that as well. Just, you know, as we come in to complete the final build of Ilos, to sit here and look at that finished skyline is so much fun. Absolutely love it. Anyway, lots of sun covers and fun little network designs happening here with our curved road against the pathway, some benches to get out of the sun, little statue, etc. Before we do arrive at our fuse building, which has now had that walkable pathway fed all the way around it, including a little bit of surface painted entrance here just to highlight the little door on this building. Right, you would expect this to spill out onto the street. So super happy with that as well. More trees out this side alongside a palm lining for the rest of the facility. And then as we come back in, we arrive at some eatery detailing next to Anthony's Animal Control, which I realise the Animal Control is a cafeteria, which sort of has connotations of that Mitchell and Webb sketch, if anyone's ever seen it.
So he should be reduced to no more than a handful of dust now. Oh no. Oh, that isn't supposed to happen. I'm gonna have to call the engineer and tell him that the oven just isn't hot enough to burn things. This just looks cooked.
But either way, we do have some tables and chairs outside of the cafeteria here so people can enjoy a bite to eat. Alongside a little Ilos flag and a planter here with some more of those golf caddies and some bushes and benches and whatnot, just to help bring this open, very green, spacious sort of campus to life. And even if you're going to pretend this isn't a municipal park, what a fun design for a campus, right? Just really focusing on your main buildings, allowing them to be sort of the eye draw. It's a fun build. I've really enjoyed the way it's come together. And a quick shout out as well for just how much of a difference just kissing some nodes with a little bit of node controller can make. Just really sort of makes them look a lot more organic and realistic and believable, doesn't it, when there's all these little curves and bends in them. Something, of course, that isn't possible in vanilla. Looks so much better with one unit roads as well. So really happy with this. And then again, more clever and tasteful surface painter work when needed, just to help highlight some entrances into other buildings. And then we arrive at the main building, which does have the groundskeeper building tethered onto the side here as well, with a little bit of admin on it, which I thought would serve quite nicely, just looking out over the rail pathway here as it heads further and further into eastern Ilos, where of course the industry begins. And then we spill out here back onto the luxury green cities developments from ages ago, with that little palm and hedge belt and this campus now, or I guess municipal park, It just sits so wonderfully in this little bit of, well, very awkward space that we had left over in the west of the downtown. I did end up including the dance club. I love the building. I hate the sign. I wish it didn't say dance club, but I just really appreciated that small little building. And then again, little bits of node controller on the pathways. And then another golf caddy here with a little suspicious person driving it. I wonder what's happening here, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. The cowboy in the Hawaiian shirt does stand out a little bit, doesn't he? But, oh well, he's just driving the caddy around the campus. On the love of that, look at the metro is passing over from here. That's so much fun. And then we've got our Jerry statue here, of course, on the entrance into the campus, where you see all the towers and skyline behind it. So again, big shout out to Deaxis for all of our Jerry statues. And all our parking complete now, and it's just turned into this really green, open, municipal park, exactly what I wanted to take inspiration from in Phoenix and see what we could do with it in cities. And it's a great, really fun, creative way to use the campus DLC. Really one of my favourite builds in Ilos. I'm super happy with this. But otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do help out the channel. Even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. This will be the last build episode of Ilos. No more builds will follow this. We will be live one more time to complete the suburb next to this, which will fully complete Ilos to my acceptable level of completion. After which, I will put together a big farewell cinematic video. I will try and schedule that premiere in the sensible time for most of us. I think obviously whatever time I premiere or stream is going to be night time somewhere in the world. But I'll at least try and pander to the majority as to when we come and say goodbye to Ilos with that big cinematic farewell, which will take me a long time to put together. Ilos is a very big city, and yes, it's going to be a fun edit, but it will be a little while. And then of course we'll move on to Pastures New, and I wonder what that could be. But otherwise, let's enjoy some final Ilos episode cinematics. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.